good friends, the ones we hold dear, the ones who will tell us what we need to hear, the ones who love us, right or wrong. And to all those good friends that give you this song.
Well, hello, good friends, and welcome back to The Last Walk, Remember When, with your host, Ron Baumbach. And today, we're going for a drive in the car. So get up off that easy chair, walk over to the fridge, open up a cool glass of Dr. Brown's cream soda, pour it into a tall glass, make it so it fizzes, reach up into the cupboard, get some Mason Mints, open them up, pop them in your mouth, sit back, turn on your lava lamp, close your eyes, because The Last Walk is back.
Life is too short, we get only one turn. With luck we find beauty, but we sometimes get burned. But if you've had a true friend, or perhaps love, you've experienced the peace of heaven above.
Remember the first car you drove in as a kid? What was the first car your mom and dad had that you remember as a youth? A little bit different than they are right now, right? Remember the big tail fins on the rear of a car? Remember checking under the hood? And the engine was a lots different and more strange. How about ashtrays and cigarette lighters? You don't see those much anymore, luckily. And pop-up locks. How about roll-up windows? Before we had the automatic windows, we had the old roll-up windows. And I loved the side vent windows, which kept the wind from blowing in your face as you drove around the countryside, because you had no air conditioning. The only air conditioning you had was the wind blowing in your windows as you had all four windows open. And bench seats in the front. You could fit 3 people in the front comfortably. And the full-size spare tire in the trunk. You had a large trunk too, incredible large trunk. And metal parts, the really strong metal parts, a bumper was really a bumper. It was solid. If someone tapped you in the parking lot, you didn't know it. Nothing happened. And the floor-mounted high beam lights, you push that button on the left-hand side, push the button and the light go on, the head beam, high beam. A lot different horn than we have now. There was a ring around the steering wheel and studs on the tires. I think they may still have those. I have not seen those in a long time. Those were the days of the cars gone by. What's your favorite memory of the car you drove years ago? What favorite memory of an accessory do we have in a car we don't see anymore? Think back. Memories are yours. The cars of our lives. Drivers, start your engines. We're going to drive in the car. We're going for a little ride along the highway. Thinking back to the memories of our youth when we first went in the car. One of my fondest memories of a car ride was one I was not in. Mr. Honorable Roger Fay, the former mayor of our town, picked up our parents on their 25th anniversary and drove them in his classic 1941 Chevy to a restaurant, Edmund Showcase Restaurant in Garden City, Long Island, New York, to celebrate with their family and friends their 25th anniversary. But how pumped they were when they pulled up into the parking lot in front of the restaurant, and Mr. Fay had a chauffeur's hat on, let them out, and they looked like they were in the glory, like the king and queen had arrived, ready for their celebration and their coronation. It was a fabulous day.
Here's to good friends, the ones we hold dear, the ones who will tell us what we need to hear, the ones who love us, right or wrong. And to all those good friends that give you this song.
My first car I drove in was a 1949 Ford. All I know, it was a big black metal machine. 4 doors, probably had that running board for all I know, but it was a big black car. Then we ended up getting a 1954 Hudson because my Aunt Estelle had this yellow Hudson car, a bright yellow car. She bought it, decided to drive. She always was a city girl, but decided to get into the wheel and get a car and have her own life behind the wheel. Remember her telling me that she had a problem making left turns. She always wanted to make right turns. So she would delay her trip and always be somewhere she had to go, be there late, because she had to make right turns to get where she had to be. Eventually, she got fed up with it and frustrated with it, sold it to my dad, probably for $1, and my dad took over the car. So we drove around in his 54 Hudson from my Aunt Estelle. That was replaced a while back with a 1956 beautiful reddish color finned Plymouth Fury. This thing was massive. When he brought it home from the shop, or wherever he bought the car from, I remember seeing this thing. We were really impressed, all the kids in the family. Dad pulled up, Debbie was just born, and we have this car that was used. We rarely ever got a new car. So Dad has this car that was a massive piece of metal, but we were pumped up. This thing had fins. It was really cool. But the car I always wanted to get, and I never had, was a 1957 Chevy. How much I longed for a 57 Chevy. I remember seeing the ads on TV on My Three Sons for Chevrolet, and I would look at that car and say, oh, I wish we could get a 57 Chevy. It was beautiful, that car. Well, Dad replaced that with a car from a dear friend of ours, Mrs. Hearn, who sold him a Buick Roadmaster. This car was a beautiful, beautiful machine, a black classic car. It had only like 15,000 miles on it. She rarely drove the car. And Dad took it over, and about 3 months later, something went in the car, the motor or tire rods, whatever it might be, and Dad had to get it fixed, but he was still thrilled because the car was a beautiful, luxurious car, parked in our driveway, and Dad would take it around, go into work and wherever he had to go, because back then Mom didn't drive. In fact, my mom did not get her license until she was 65 years old. She always wanted to drive, finally passed the test, may have been third time, passed the test, but would never give it up. Because she figured that she has her license. It was her claim to fame, kept it in the wallet, but she just did not enjoy driving. She bought a car, ended up giving it away, but was more thrilled to say, I have a license and I can drive. Remember that sound? Trying to start the car in the morning, afternoon, you're out somewhere and you turn the key but you keep trying and trying, keep turning that key, pumping the pedal, keep turning, pumping, turning. Sweet sounds of success. Now, my mom and dad then went from that car to Buick Roadmaster. I wanted them to get an Edsel, but they thought I was crazy, and they wouldn't go with the Edsel. In fact, not many people got the Edsel. The car didn't last too long, as you probably know. So they went. I also wanted a T-Bird. That didn't go. My brother Jerry wanted to get a Bonneville. That didn't go. But they got their Plymouth Valiant, and they were thrilled over that. What was your first car? The first car you owned? Remember my brother Jerry, Mom and Dad and Jerry somehow got him a car, an old gray DeSoto. When he was in college, he couldn't use it the first year or so when he was away, so it would sit in our backyard. And I one day went in the back, found the keys to this car, turned it on, and the car moved. I hit the gas, didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue what I was doing. Dad looked out the window, sees me moving the car in the backyard, comes running out, yelled and screamed, reached in, turned the key off, got me out of the car, and guess what? I never did that again. That was it. Those days of driving before I was allowed to went by quickly. After Dad had the Buick Roadmaster, he decided to buy a brand new car. I may not have been new, but to me it was brand new. He bought a Chevy Corvair, which he really, really enjoyed. One problem, it was a stick shift, and I was about to learn how to drive. I had the biggest problem trying to figure out the stick shift. I could never get it right. So Dad spoke to my Uncle John and Aunt Margie, who lived around the corner. They had a nice white Mercury Comet that was automatic. Used that, learned to drive. My Aunt Margie took me out, my dad took me out, and I passed my test. First time, flying colors. I then got my very first car in 1961 Rambler.
All around, the new Rambler Classic.
It's flipping the town.
This is the Classic, the new Rambler Classic, the brand new 61 Rambler Classic.
American Motors, a big gray Rambler, had a push-button start and push-button change for the different transmission for drive, reverse. There was no stick. It was all push-button on the column. The car was not new, by no means. It was a tank, but I loved that car. It was a classic car, a 1961 car, which I got in 1968. My Herbie, Love Bug from a Walt Disney movie. So I had this car. It ran well until one day I'm driving the car back to college in Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York, on Route 84. And I was doing 80 miles an hour on Route 84, I believe it was, 84. And as I'm driving, I hit the brake, and there's nothing. The brake, my foot goes right to the floor. I'm like waving at Ray. I'm screaming, yelling at the window. And I just let the car just ride down and slow down. And I just put it in lower shift, lower gear. And I coasted, and the car rolled in to a gas station. It just went dead right at a gas station. The good Lord was watching out over me. It just stopped right there. The mechanic came out on a Sunday, found out there was a hole in the brake line. He fixed the hole, repaired it. I drove it off back to college then, but I was so thankful that something worse didn't happen. What a rough ride that would have been. I then sold that car, and Dad and I went shopping. We found a car in the Long Island Press in the advertising section. And I found the car. It was 1964 Chevy Malibu convertible. This beautiful blue car had only one problem, a cracked windshield. But Dad said, don't worry about that. We'll get it fixed. He told me to sit down. He went in and talked to the people, worked out a deal. For $400, I got my 64 Chevy Malibu convertible. This car was awesome. Tremendous. I love this car. Probably a chick magnet. The first night I take the car out with my friends, the very first night I'm going out with my friends. I bring my friends home. I'm around the corner from my house. There's a bar and grill around the corner on Foch Boulevard and Hillside Avenue. As I'm waiting for the light to turn green, some woman backs out of the parking lot. She just came from the pub and she must have been drinking. Didn't see me. She backed up right into my car. Had the car 12 hours. And she backed into my back of my car. I was livid, ticked. This is my baby. The car was all hit up and beat up and crushed in there inside. Well, I go back home, Mom and Dad, and I went off the wall with everybody. We ended up bringing it to a shop, got it fixed. Went to Earl Scheib, $69.95, I think it may have been. He painted the whole car. Then I got a new window put in, where he had the old convertible window was that canvas. I had a special window put in the back that wasn't plastic, was real glass. Could fold up and fold down. It was a beautiful car. Until one day, on the same road where the woman hit me, the car stopped going forward, could only drive in reverse. So I had to drive the car home from around the corner, only in reverse. So I sold that car, my good old Malibu, traded it in to McGoldrick Motors on Willis Avenue in Wilson Park. Traded it in for a 1969-1970 Toyota Mark II station wagon. I don't know why in the world I was a young single guy, had no need for a station wagon. What made me buy a station wagon when I'm in my early 20s, just graduating college, and I buy a station wagon? Like, really crazy. But I bought that thing, kept it for a year or so, and eventually bought a brand new Mercury Comet car, which was beautiful, $2,900. I love that car.